Hey guys, it's Lynn with Curiosity Crochet. Welcome to my channel. We're gonna make something fun today. This is kind of a flapper cloche hat kind of thing. And I did mine with fur flower. And I actually hot glued it on because it's just easier. And I used this Lush Luxe from Premier. It doesn't take that much. I mean, it takes a little bit more than most things, but it doesn't take that much. But for the video, when I show you the flower, I'm just going to use regular yarn because you can't see that real well for me to show you. So, I also used Premier on the hat too. This one was another one of their everyday. This was a heather blue. For this though, I'm going to use this Twisted. It's a jean yarn. Now I'm going to do it on a small scale again, like normal, just so I can get through and show you guys everything, because it's late evening here and I want to get this uploaded for you guys. I think you'll have a lot of fun with this one. But for this hat, I used a 5 for the hat. Oh no, I used a 5.5, and then towards the top here, I brought it in with a 5. And for the flower, I used a 6 because it was fur, and I didn't want it to, because you could technically use a bigger hook, but I mean, my flower is pretty big. I mean, this is pretty crazy, but it's all personal preference with stuff like that. So just like always though, you can use, this is a 4-weight. I don't think it even shows it on here. I get this from Mary Maxim, which is another one of my favorites to order from. And they have mystery boxes, which are so much fun. But this is a 4-weight, and I'm going to work my little sample up with a 5. Now, you can use any weight yarn that you want. Just, I would suggest using, like, this one doesn't show the crochet, but normally if it recommends a 5 for knitting, it's usually like a size or 2 up. So this one's probably 5.5. So I don't know, I'll use a 5 or 5.5 because I used the 5.5 is the recommended, so that's what I used on that one, and then just brought the top in smaller. So, and you can do the same thing. Use the recommended and then just use a size smaller towards the very, very top. So like, just like a couple, maybe the top 4 rows before we decrease, you can jump in with the smaller hook. But yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. It does take probably close to 200 yards for this hat, just because the brim takes a little extra. So I would say at least make sure you have 200 yards to work with. Some of my other hats don't usually take that much, so I don't usually give you that information, but I want to make sure you have enough to work with to make the hat, because like I said, I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun with this. So let me get situated. I think I gave you all the information you need, and we'll get started here in a couple minutes. Okay guys, I forgot to mention, make sure you have a tape measure, because that comes in real handy, and then, you know, your scissors and your tapestry needles. You're gonna need this, especially if you're using different yarn than me, which I don't know how many of you order from Mary Maxim and would have the exact same yarn as me, but if you have the same exact yarn, just do exactly what I don't ever go by rows, because I tell you that you can use whatever yarn you want to, so you really just want to go by measurement mostly. And so the multiple for this one is multiples of 2, which just means 2, 4, 6, 8, all the way up to whatever you need it to be. And we want our chain to measure between 18 and 20 inches for an average size head. especially if it has good stretch. And then if you are doing it for like a child, then you can do, I'm sorry, my husband is texting me and it's popping up on my phone and I'm like interested and it's distracting me. I'm so sorry. But so if you're doing it for like child size, I would do like regular child size, I would do about 16 to 17 inches. For baby, you know, like toddler size, you're looking at about 14 to 15 inches. And then if someone with a larger head, I would say between 20 and 22 inches. So that's what we're looking at for our chain length. Other than that, I think we can get going because that's all I need for right now. We'll go after we get this shown, because this is actually a 1 row repeat. So it is super easy. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're going to have fun with this and it's easy, which means you can kind of no-brain it. And that's the best. Like, you can sit on the couch and just kind of go. So I'm going to get my chains and then I'll meet you right. Okay, once you get the amount of chains done that you need for whatever yarn you're using and whatever head you're making it for, I'm just doing 30 chains because I'm doing it small so I can show you guys. And like I said, this is so easy. We're going to do a base row, which is just going to be single crochet around, and then I'll show you what the repeat is on the second row, and then the third row is what you're going to repeat over and over again. So what we're going to do now, once we have our chains, is we're going to follow this down without twisting your chain. And I always say just, you know, follow it down with your fingers so it doesn't get twisted. And we're going to insert into the first chain and we're going to slip stitch that together. Okay? And now, real easy, we're going to chain 1. Now it's up to you if you want to work in this third chain back here. So like if you're looking at it this way, if you turn it, you have a third loop, and on this first one sometimes it's tricky because it's hidden a little bit underneath here, but it's here. It's just hidden. It's this one here, this loop that's kind of, because we pull it when we slip stitch it. So it's this one here. That's your third loop. You can see it twist but your knot's in the way. But anyways, you can either work in those third loops or you can just do normal, because we're going to do that brim. So it doesn't really matter. Just if you do it this way, it makes it easier to find each stitch because you can see it better. So you're going to do that chain 1, and then you're going to single crochet all the way around. So you're going to go into each stitch however you choose, whether the third loop in the back here. And sometimes you really have to, because if it turns on you, but you can see them. See, if you turn it over, this is what you're normally looking at. And if you turn it this way, you can see this bump back here. That's your third loop. And when you do it this way, it pretty much gives you a real stitch. Like if you're doing something else, or if you just want a clean edge, it gives you a real nice look at the bottom there. And it's just easier with stuff like this where if you're going to work in the third loop and you know you're going to work in the third loop, you want to chain a little loose so that you're not fighting these back here. But anyways, you know, with projects like this where you know you're going to work around the edge of something, sometimes it's easier to do it this way, because then you can find every single stitch without, is that a stitch or is that not a stitch? You know, when you do it in the front part of the chain sometimes, and you can't, sometimes you can't tell, is that a stitch? You know, like even when you're doing borders around, like say a dishcloth or something, Like you're going to do a single crochet border around it or any kind of border, and you go around to that next, you know, to that other side where you just went into the normal part of the chain. And you sometimes, I don't know if it's just me, maybe it's just me, but you lose track and you're like, wait a second. Well, especially in the beginning of my crocheting, like I'd be like, is that a stitch? Did I miss a stitch? So this just makes it a little bit easier to see where each stitch is, because it gives you a stitch. Now that I've talked myself all the way around here pretty much, once you get your single crochets all done, I'm almost to the end here, so I'm just gonna bring it all the way. We're gonna bring it around town. Uh-oh. We're gonna have company. Oh, I thought he was coming out here. And I'm sorry if you hear my son in the background. But I keep telling you guys, especially for newcomers, I have a very small house. And there is normally 5 of us that live here. My older son's in college, so he's only here once in a while. So it's 4 of us now, but lots of love. Small house, lots of love, but it gets loud in here sometimes, especially when they know I'm trying to do something. Okay, so when we come back around, now, if you're doing it in the 3rd loop, you can see where this last one is. So you just make sure you don't go too far. And you're just gonna slip stitch into that first single crochet. Now, we're going to start the repeat. Well, I'm going to show you what the repeat is, but after I show you what the repeat is, I'm going to show you how you're actually going to do the repeat, because this is the start of it, and then the next row is what you're going to repeat over and over again. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and we are going to go right back into the same stitch that we slip stitched into. And we're going to single crochet, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to double crochet, all in the same stitch. Okay? Then we're going to skip 1, and then we're going to do that again. We're going to single crochet, we're going to chain 1, we're going to double crochet. We're doing that all in the same stitch. Then we're going to skip 1, same stitch, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that same stitch. Skip 1, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that same stitch. And that's what you're going to repeat all the way around. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back and I'll show you what you're going to do for every row. Okay, when you come back around, you'll have one last one to skip. Remember, this is your fake stitch here, so don't worry about that. You can always tell where your last stitch is by where the last post is. So there's our last stitch, and then that's your fake where you slip stitched. So now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to turn. So every row you're going to turn back and forth. Okay? And what we're going to do now is we're going to work in these chain 1 spaces. So here, 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 that's all we're going to do is work in the chain spaces. And we're going to do exactly what we did in the previous row. We're going to go into that chain space. We're going to single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Jump to the next chain 1 space right here. We're going to single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Jump to the next chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And that's what you're going to keep repeating now. You're going to just work in those chain spaces. Just make sure you remember to turn it every row, turn it back and forth every row, because that's what's going to give you the pretty pattern that comes up with this, because then it makes it go back and forth and it turns out real pretty. I don't know if you can see it, but it turns out real pretty. To me, it looks like there's little flower petals going back and forth. Like, I love these. I love these stitches and these patterns. This one here, it probably exists, but I came up with it after watching another stitch. So if it exists, it exists. I like to play with my yarn and come up with things. So, and I'm sure it does exist because it's too simple not to exist. But the hat, I haven't even come up with a name for the hat yet. Hopefully by the time I post this video, I will come up with a name. If not, I'm just going to call it flapper hat. It's just how it's going to be. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to repeat those. You're going to repeat that over and over again. And I brought mine to only 6 inches tall, because we're going to do, how much did I do for the closing? We're going to do 5 rows to close it in total. So you're going to have a little bit of room there to close it. So I wouldn't really bring it taller than 6 inches unless you want it to be a slouchy flapper hat. I mean, it's totally up to you. To each his own, you know? So it's up to you, but I only brought it to 6 inches tall. And then we're going to close it up together. And then I'll show you how we're going to do the brim. And then after everything, I'll show you how I put the flower together. So go ahead and get your hat to the height you want it to be. And then we'll meet back and we will close it up together. Real quick, I wanted to show you, when you come up to the end of each row, it's just like the other one. You're going to find that first single crochet. So if don't go into the chain to slip stitch, go into the first single, and you could just look for the 2 stitches, and then that way you know where the single crochet is, and then slip stitch. And then the one other thing I wanted to remind you is towards the top of your hat, if you want to bring it in just a little bit, go down a half size. So like if you're using a 5.5, go down to a 5. Just for like the top 2 or 3 rows, it just brings it in nice. And then use that smaller hook to decrease it, and it works out real cute. So yeah, as soon as you guys get your everything, or your height that you want it to be, meet me back here and we will get this closed up. Okay, once you get your height that you want it to be, and you've measured it and everything's where you want it to be, and it doesn't matter which way you end it, it really doesn't. If it hits 6 inches and you're pointed this, you know, like you're gonna work this way, it's totally fine. So to start the decrease, we're gonna chain 2, and now we're not gonna, well, I should say you might want it to be going this way because we're not going to turn it anymore. But if it doesn't bother you to work from behind, I mean, it's totally fine. It works either way. But to start with, we're going to just half double crochet all the way around in each stitch. So you're going to go in the top of each stitch, and we're going to skip over the chain spaces and just go in the double crochet and the single crochet. So we're not going to do this isn't going to be a decrease row yet. We're just going to start a base for it. This is why there's so many rows to the decrease, but it goes quickly, so don't worry. And it's all half double crochet. So go ahead and get yourself around, and remember, just skip over the chain 1 spaces. Just go into the top of the double crochet and the single crochet. Okay, and then we'll meet back and we'll start the actual decrease. Okay, I want to show you on here, when you come back around, you still want to go in this single crochet, because that's where we slip stitch. So it's just like if you were going around and not switching, you want to make sure you go into that so that we have the right stitch count. And then we're going to slip stitch to the top of that first half double crochet. Now we're going to chain 2 again. And now we're going to go right back into that same stitch and do 1 half double crochet. We're going to go into the next stitch and do another half double crochet. And then we're going to do a decrease. The way I do half double decreases is I yarn over, I go in and I pull up a loop, and then in the next stitch I just go in without yarning over and pull up a loop, and then you have 4 loops and you pull through all 4. So that's what we're going to repeat. We're going to do 1, 2 in a row, and then we're going to do our decrease. So yarn over, pull up a loop, and then go into the next stitch, pull up a loop. You'll have 4 and pull through all 4. So again, 1, 2 in a row in the next 2 stitches, and then yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, just go into the next one, pull up a loop. You've got 4, pull through all 4. So go ahead and repeat that around, and then I'll show you the next. Okay. And then because if we're all using different yarns or whatever, we might all have different stitch counts. And when you're doing the decrease, it doesn't matter because your stitch count doesn't matter anymore. So when you come back around, if you have a couple left, 1 left, whatever, after your last decrease, just put, you know, a couple of half double crochets in there, or 1 half double, whatever you're left with. 1 or 2, or if you land perfectly, that's perfect. But just make sure you don't go into your fake stitch here, because this is where your last stitch should be, and then that's your chain 3 right here, and then that's your fake stitch, because that's where we slip stitch. So then we're going to slip stitch into the top of that half double, and now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2 again, and this time we're just going to do 1 half double and then a decrease. So just 1 in the next and then a decrease. I'm getting caught here. 1 half double and then your decrease. So go ahead and repeat that one around, and then we'll meet back up. Okay, and don't mind mine because I don't want this to get too small where I can't show you. So I pulled that last one out. But now, after you do the 1 and a decrease, now we are just going to half double crochet all the way around. So we're just going to go into the top of each stitch and do 1 half double crochet all the way around for this row. So you're not decreasing in this row, we're just adding a little bit more length to it at the top. So we're just doing 1 half double in the top of each stitch. Okay, and then I'll meet you right back. Then when you come back around, we're just going to slip stitch into the top of that first half double again. And now we're just going to chain 2, and we're just going to decrease all of them. So we're going to go into the first one that we slip stitched into and pull up a loop in the second and just pull it all together now. So in every single stitch we're just going to decrease and pull it nice and tight. And this will be the last row of our decrease because it should pull it in fairly nice for you. Now if you feel like the hole is too big, then you can always do one more round of the decrease in every stitch, because it'll just pull it in a little bit more for you, and then you can cinch it closed. It's all personal preference, because I don't usually like a big hole to cinch either. But when I did this one after this row, it was fine for me. So see, and at the end here I have 1 extra, so I'm going to pull all 3 together. and then slip stitch. Now here's a little trick that I like to show in my videos. So pull that up a little bit and then come in through the neck, not where you're slip stitched into, but the next stitch. Come in from behind, grab that loop, pull it a little tight, grab that loop and pull it to the inside, and then chain your one and leave yourself some yarn to cinch with. And all that does is it brings the knot on the inside, so then it keeps the outside looking pretty. So now you're going to grab your tapestry needle, and I always turn mine inside out. I repeat this, but if for any newcomers, I want to repeat myself, because if I have new people, I want you to hear my little advices. But even if I'm doing a pom-pom or I'm not doing a pom-pom, I still turn it inside out, because I think it makes the cinch nicer on the other side, especially if you're going to do like a removable pom-pom. I just like the way it looks better. But so this is how I cinch. I go in to the stitch where we're at and come around the post and out the next stitch. And then don't go back in where you came out, because that'll just pull back out the stitch. You're going to jump to the next and go from one stitch to the next stitch. And then jump to the next and go around, and just do that all the way around till you get back to the beginning. And we're here. I'm just going to go through this one more time. And then just cinch it closed. And then I just like to go back and forth a couple times across the top, just to make sure it's nice and tight. And then after I do it twice, on the third pass, I go across here, and then I leave a little bit of a loop here so that I put my needle through there and pull that tight, so there's a little bit of a knot. And then just hide your tails however you want to hide them. I don't need to show you that. But then I'm going to show you, we're going to jump into the brim here. Now, you can make the brim a different color if you want, especially since we're changing right now anyway. So if you want to do something cool and make your brim a different color, I'm all for that. It's totally up to you. This is your hat. It's your creativity. So I think that is fun. But what we're going to do is we're just going to grab our yarn and put a little slip knot on there. And I like to start where all this mess is, so that I know where I'm at. And you find that first stitch there. See, and with doing it this way, you see what I mean? You can see where each stitch is. But I'm going to go in here and I'm going to slip stitch that on there. Then I'm going to chain 2. Now this part's done with half doubles too. The first row, we're just going to half double crochet around. That is our base row for this. Is just one row of half double crochet in each stitch. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll meet back. And then I'm gonna show you real quick how what we're gonna do for the brim. But I'm not gonna do as many. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing of what the next step is, and you'll see what I mean. So go ahead and put your half double crochets in each stitch, and we'll meet back. Okay, when you come back around. Now, because there's like a little bit of a mess here, this here is one last stitch, so don't miss that, so that you have that stitch. And the best way to check is you should have the same amount of stitches as chains that you started out with. So that's the best way to check. And then you're going to slip stitch into that first half double. Now I want to show you something real quick. The way this pattern works up, you can't even really see the seam in here too much where we join and stuff. Like, it just kind of goes together so nice. I just wanted to show you that because I thought that was really cool about this stitch. But anyways, now this is the part I was talking about. This is how we're going to make the actual shape of the brim. And I'm not going to do it all the way around. I'm going to show you what to do. And then when we meet back up, I won't have all of the stitches that you guys have. But it's simple from here. So you're going to chain your 2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go right back into that same stitch. But we're going to put 3 half double crochets in each stitch around. So you're going to put 3, and then you're going to put 3, and then you're just going to continue doing that all the way around. You're going to put 3 half doubles in every single stitch around. And then when you get done with that, you're going to do 2 more rows of just half double crochet in each stitch. So you're going to do 1 row that's 3 in each stitch. Then you're going to do 2 rows of just 1 in each stitch, because that gives you, this gives you the flap, and then the 2 rows give you that little bit of length. Now you are welcome to do more than 2 rows. You can make the brim as long or as short as you want. Like if you do 1 row after the 3 in each stitch, you do 1 more row and that's long enough for you, then that's how I want you to do it. If you want it to be longer than the 2 rows that I did, then go right ahead. Like I always say, I want you to make it how you want to make it. But that's what gives you the floppy and the little, you know, where it's kind of buckled a little bit. So putting 3 in each stitch is going to give you that. And then the 1 in each stitch afterwards for 2 rows just gives you the little bit of length. So go ahead and get that part done. And then all you have to do after you've done the amount of rows is cut off and sew in your tails. And then we will make the flower. Now you don't have to put a flower on it. If you just like the hat, then that's totally fine. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. If you would like to make the flower with me, then let me clean up a little bit. We'll meet back after you get your brim done and we'll throw the flower together. Okay, now that you've got the brim done and you've got the hat finished and it looks fabulous, you can use either, like I said, either you can use whatever fur that you want, or you can use regular yarn. Now you can do the same color or you can do a different color. It's totally up to you. I'm using a 5mm with this one so that the flower doesn't get too big, because I don't want to waste too much of this yarn. But I do want to show you guys because this flower is easy and it's super cute. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with a chain of 6. Sorry, I shifted my camera a little bit here. We're going to start out with a chain of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to slip stitch into that first chain. And we're going to chain 1. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go right into this circle here. We're going to go right in the middle of this. And we're going to do a single crochet. Then we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to single crochet right into here again. We're going to go right around there and do a single crochet. We're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to single crochet into the middle again. Now you want to do that until you have 6 of these chain 6 loops. So go ahead and do that. And then after you do your last chain 6, don't do another single crochet. We're going to slip stitch it, but go ahead and get that done. And okay, once you have your 6 chain 6s, then we're going to come down here and we're going to slip stitch in that first single crochet down here. So that now that's joined, and it's kind of off put, but it won't make a difference. Now you can pull this center tight, or you can wait till you're done. And if you're doing it with fur, it doesn't even matter because you can't see it anyways. You can't see that middle part. So you don't even have to tighten it. But if you're using regular yarn and you want that to be closed, you can always pull this tight, and then when you're all done, you can sew this end in opposite of where it's going so that it pulls it tight. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3 right here. No, we're going to chain 2. Sorry, we're going to chain 2. And we're going to put 15 double crochets into this chain space here. So we're going to yarn over and we're just going to jump right in here. And we're going to put 15 in here. Now, if it starts looking like you don't have enough room, just push it over a little bit and it'll give you a little more room. Now, I'm also going to give you this little tip. If you don't want it to be as big as mine was, you could always use a lighter weight yarn and a smaller hook, and it'll come out smaller than what these are. The fur one is even bigger than this one because it's a thicker weight, you know, kind of thing. So, but now, once you get your 15, you're going to pull this up a little bit, and you're going to come in from behind and grab this loop. And you're going to come up behind and you're going to slip stitch. And you're going to chain 2. You're going to turn back and we're going to repeat that. That's what we're going to repeat all the way around. You're going to put 15 in each of these. You're going to pull the yarn back and do that slip stitch. Chain 2 and start again. I want to show you that one more time, so I'm trying to, I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, oh, well. Okay, so once you get your 15, then you're going to pull up and you're going to drop your hook. No, you're really not going to do that. You're going to come up from behind in the hole and you're going to grab this hook. Pull that a little bit tight and then pull it through to the back, and then you're going to make a slip stitch. Well, basically it looks like a single crochet, but you're slip stitching that in there. And then you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to do that all over again. And you're going to do that all the way around until you come back to here. And then what I want you to do is I want you to slip stitch down here, because it'll bring it back down. and then you'll have this pretty flower. And like I said, you can close up the middle, and then you can either sew this on, or you can hot glue it on like I did with mine, because it doesn't, or you can use like any kind of glue. I just tend to use hot glue with everything, because I love to hot glue everything. But anyways, that's it. That's all there is to it. So like I said, when you come back around to your first one, I want you to slip stitch to close off down here, and then just hide your tails and attach it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys made an amazing hat. I would love if you would join us on Facebook at Curiosity Crochet. I have been waiting and waiting for someone to post a picture of something they've made with me. I have had a bunch of you join, and I appreciate that, but I'd love to see the projects you're making with me. I would love to see them, because that would just make my day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And the subscribe is right down on the right side underneath my video. It says subscribe. You do have to have an account, like a Google account, and make sure you're signed in, and then you can hit subscribe. I do have some new stuff that I'm going to be doing. I have a couple yarn orders coming in, so I'm going to do some unboxings with you guys, because the one I got from a discount place, and I'd love to share that with you. The other one I got from Lion Brand during their 40% off all yarn sale, which they have a lot, so they do that sale a lot. So I'd like to share all that with you guys. I hope I have a bunch of yarn lovers watching, and I hope you enjoy that. And then I've got some other stuff in the works other than just hats. I've got some ear warmers that I'd like to share if you guys would like that. I've got a couple scarves. I've got a hooded scarf that I'm working on right now. So yeah, we're gonna change it up a little bit here and there, and I think I might do a Baby Yoda amigurumi. If anybody's interested in that, I can walk you through that. It's not as hard as people think it is, especially if you've got someone walking you through it. So yeah, that's what I got coming up. So thanks again for being here. Thanks for enjoying my videos, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.